All right, so in the last video, I showed a few things of Lexi's behavior because she really is a sweetie. And as you could see, even when she's barking and other dogs are barking, there's distractions. It's spring, she's outside, she's in heat. That's all it took was for me to tell her to stop and say, I know, sweetheart. That's it. And she goes, ooh, sweetie pie. The two dogs next doors, I told them to shut up one day, and they actually did. And the lady next door said, wow, they never listen to anybody. It's okay with us if you tell them to shut up. Yo, I've tried. Since then, they never did it again. They're the kind of animals where they don't listen to their owners. They don't care. They're they're horrible inbreds. They really are. They're a horrible version of a dog. A dog's not supposed to be like that. A dog is derived from a wolf, and wolves in nature are very, very intelligent. You don't have to ask them not to pee on the floor. They know better right away. They won't pee where they sleep. They don't shit where they sleep. They go out to the edge of their territory and pee there to mark it. Perfect for a house. They'll go mark the territory. What they won't do is piss in the house or shit in the house, ever. They just don't. You know how many times Lexi's peed or shit in the house? Never. I can't say that about the other dogs here. They all have. And it's one of those things. These smaller dogs have problems. They have smaller bladders, smaller rectal tracts. They can't really handle waiting overnight a lot of times. There are a ton of problems inherent in these genes that are not there in a proper sized dog. Now, a lab or a good pit bull breed, now, not everyone is good and they need to be trained properly. Even if they have had issues, they can be worked with. But that, believe it or not, takes a ton of love, takes letting them inspect things, letting them check things out, and teaching them, working with them, and not being afraid of them, understanding them. It takes wisdom and knowledge of the breed to work with them properly. That is a fact. Kind of like falconry is a real thing because falcons take very particular working with. They're very smart, but not just anybody can work with them. They don't just like just anybody. It's one of those things. Pit bulls are kind of like that. It takes a certain kind of person to be able to work with them because you can't be fear driven. Those kind of people will have trouble with a breed like this because they don't really know what to do with it and they're scared of it. Okay, well, I'm not scared of her. She comes to my face and I sit at her level. I've been doing it since the day we got her. The first thing I did, she came in all aggressive and hostile. And I said, Rick, I got an idea. And he said, what's that? I said, let's give her an ice cube. And he's like, yeah, that's a great idea. I can't believe I didn't think of that. An ice cube's brilliant. It's a hot summer day. She just came from a long walk. Perfect. So I give her an ice cube. Sure enough, she sees me come up to her. She's all grrr. And I open my hand and there's an ice cube in it. She stopped cold. She's never seen an ice cube before. She didn't know what the frick that was. And she inspected it thoroughly. And then she licked it. And then she looked at me with joy in her eyes and she grabbed that thing and she ate the shit out of it and chewed it up and looked at me all smiley. And I asked him to take her off the leash and she came rushing over to me to get another one. That was day one. From 30 seconds of her being in the house, she went from a cranky bitch to a sweetie. The beginnings of a sweetie started to emerge because she had been treated right, with love, not with fear, with affection. If I treat you with fear, like I'm terrified of you because you're a piece of shit, well, that's not gonna feel good, is it? And that's just how it is. Now, I don't want to build it up too much because there are some vital issues we need to get to with this breed because I'm not doing these videos for nothing. They can be a very dangerous breed. They have the ability to bite. They have sharp and hard teeth and they will crush bone. They have enough strength in their jaw to puncture and crush bone. I know that. When we first got her, she had this habit where she liked to have your hand in her mouth. Now, they're very tactile and they like to have things in their mouth, and it's actually good for you to work with them that way, but you have to know what you're doing. So what I did was you let her lick your hand, and but she'll go to kind of squeeze down on it. That's when you have to squeeze her jaw and tell her no. And you just put your hand in her mouth, and when she goes to squeeze, you squeeze her bottom jaw and pull down. She can't bite you while you're doing that. And if then you grab your other hand and you grab her by the nose and you start to pull up and you say no and you get hard and then you let her go. But hard and fast, and you push her away while you do it and let her think about that shit. You got to be hard about that because they need to know that you're capable of that, that you could be hard on them too. For example, she already turned like she was going to bite me 3 times. And every time that happened, I had done nothing significantly wrong, but she was cranky, very mad. She doesn't do that anymore. Now it's the other way around. There's constant sweetness. At the beginning, it was like I was able to bring out the sweetness, but there were signs of monster. And over time, those signs of monster have gone away. But each and every one of those has been a trained thing where now she has a knowledge base. She knows how to respond to those situations because to her, if she doesn't know how to respond, it's an enemy. And you haven't taught her any different. And in nature, there's really only your pack and the enemy or food. So that's how it is. And it's the same with a wolf. You need to give them an idea of what they're supposed to do. You're supposed to be the leader. You need to be a good leader. And in nature, a good leader trains their young. Inbred species who don't care for their genome, they don't. And their behavior is horrible. The species that are cool, lions, tigers, bears, they're not cool for nothing. They're very intelligent creatures. And you can have a relationship with them that would shock you in nature with wild animals because they're not what you think. They're absolutely lethally capable. And some of them can be like Lexi, where one day they're nice and the next day they just look at you and go, you know what? I never fucking liked you. Wham! And rip you apart. Because keep in mind, to an intelligent creature, you have it captive. She didn't have a choice in who took her. Now, I have learned a lot about animals, and with my pet Dora, it's one of the reasons my rule is I always let the pet pick the person, not the other way around. Don't ever let the person pick the pet. It's a horrible way to go. Let the pet pick the person. And the reason is when an animal really wants to be with you, it's a totally different kind of relationship that you'll have with that animal. Now, Lexi came into the house and she wasn't really happy with what was going on at first. But when she saw how much better it was than where she had been, she was excited. She was happy. She wakes up every day and goes, oh, I love you guys. Because we're really sweet with her. You might think. Well, Rick's got a fistful of rings and he's punched her in the face several times. Because anytime she shows any aggression towards one of us or people outside, she gets hard treatment. You want to be hard with people? People will be hard with you. We're capable of hard and we're bigger than you. She needs to know that. She needs to know her place in the chain of things, that she is not the top of the food chain. Because when they think they are, they'll try and run things. Now, when trained to do it, they're so cool about that, they actually were used as babysitting dogs. She would take a knife out of your hand when we first got her. Rick pulled out a knife to cut something, and she immediately jumped, not biting him, grabbed the knife and yanked it away, cutting herself doing so because she grabbed it by the blade and cut herself here and here, and he didn't resist because of where she had the blade, and then told her to let it go, and I told her to let it go, and she let it go and let it drop on the floor, and I said, Lexi, you, and he right away said, you cut yourself, and we said it at the same time, and she saw the look on her face, like we were more concerned for her than anything else, because it's dangerous, and you don't touch that. Just like a child, man. They respond to that. They understand that. And she knew right away, okay, it's dangerous. She knew that. I don't know how she knew what a knife was, but these dogs are smart, smart, smart. And that is the other thing. Like I said, the previous people who had her, they really didn't know how to handle her. And this is why. But if your child picked up that knife, you would be really glad that your dog took it away from her or him, even if it had to cut itself to do it and didn't hurt the child in the process. That is what they are. That is what their inside is telling them to do. And they're pretty amazing dogs. And I can't even believe how cool a breed they really are now that I've gotten to know her. and worked with her. I've worked with a lot of animals over the years, guys. Big cats. I have done that. I have lived in the bush for many seasons, and like literally at one point for the entire summer. And I was living with a pack of wolves, and that may sound like bullshit, but it's not. In fact, I ended up making a super pack by accident. I didn't mean to. Wolf behavior is fascinating stuff. I was trying to survive in the bush, and I had this starving wolf come up to me. Only he wasn't coming up to be nice or ask for food. He was coming up to kill me. And all of a sudden, I see eyes out of the corner of my eyes, but they're all smaller than him. And I had a bow on me. First thing I'd always do in the bush is make a bow. Go watch my bow making series. You'll see what I mean. I explain it there. And I pull out this bow and I shoot this thing. And I throw the body back to the pack and I say, here, you want to die today? Come at me. You want to get a food? Eat him. And I pulled my arrow out of him and kicked it over. And sure enough, they went for him and tore him apart. But after that, the pack didn't follow him. It followed me because he was dead. And as far as they were concerned, I was the alpha dog and I really did not know what to do. So I went hunting and I got a deer. And there was water nearby. I got water, but it wasn't fit to drink. I boiled it. I gave everybody enough water and enough food. And all of a sudden, that pack was my buddy, man. I slept warm and comfy that night, I'll tell you that. Because they wouldn't leave. They were my buddies. I didn't sleep in the tent. I slept with them. And I didn't have any problem with that. They're the kind of animals where when they saw it was raining and I wasn't really a fan of getting wet, they covered me. I couldn't believe their behavior. They never peed or pooed near me. I never had to tell them where. They always go to the edge of their territory to do that. They go away. They don't do that where they sleep. They're smart. Same with big cats. I was surprised with that. I lived with big cats for a while, caring for them. They had porcupine injuries. I was doing first aid on them just because I was surviving, living in the bush. And it happened. They were there, injured, and I cared for them. The mother actually brought me the baby. That's how smart they are. She was all face full of quills. She didn't care. The baby started playing with a porcupine. She went after the porcupine, killed it. She was dying, and her response was to bring me the baby. Luckily, I was able to save the mother and the baby. But she didn't know that. She wouldn't even let me touch her until I dealt with the baby, and the baby was not as bad off as her. She didn't care. Sound familiar? That was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. Now, she would not let me touch her after I did the first aid. When she saw that she was healed and she was getting stronger, she was afraid to let me touch her until right at the end. And it was just barely like, and she kind of, and I was like, okay, sorry, I just wanted to show you I'm friendly. She's like, right. And she made this little roll on her back and said, yeah, I'm friendly too. And I rolled on my back, and that was about as close as we got to being actual buddies. But the kitten was my absolute buddy, did not leave my side, didn't want to leave my side. In fact, when I left the bush, they had to take it because it was just too friendly with people. And this is part of the problem. I didn't just create a super pack. I created a super pack that was very friendly with people. And that is a dangerous thing. And over the next few years, people got mauled. Why? Because there was a 13-member pack of wolves that for the last season had a friendly human who lived with them and fed them and gave them water and did first aid on them. So the next group of campers that came through, the wolf pack came right up to them and wanted the same. Well, the humans didn't know that, and they went batshit. And the next thing you know, they ran off, and the wolves let them. And that continued to happen until somebody didn't just let them run off and got aggressive with them, and they got mauled. Not killed, but mauled. Which is interesting, because that generation of wolves was continued to be very friendly their entire lifetime with people, and continued to go up to them, and anybody who was violent with them got mauled but not killed. Kind of cool, because they showed that level of restraint. Wolves in nature are not what you think. But the next generation, who had no knowledge of humans being good to them, but still had a natural curiosity of humans and had been raised going to those places. Well, those wolves had been going to places where campsites were. They survived because of the campsite, because of the people for that year. They would not have lived. They were in really rough shape. There's a reason I couldn't just leave. I would have. I was supposed to go back to school after a couple of weeks. I'm sorry, a month. I was supposed to be there a month, but that didn't happen. Instead, I was there 6 months, and they were out looking for me and all kinds of stuff. I didn't even know. I didn't leave the bush. I didn't have a cell phone. I was young. Just stayed because I knew if I left, they were going to die. It took many months for their injuries to heal and for me to get them fed up enough that they were really healthy. And by the time I left a healthy wolf pack, um, which turned out to be a good thing for their species. And it was amazing to me doing all that, what it all led to, because the next generation was actually killing people. And this is part of the problem with nature. When you live among them and they know you, they're actually a lot nicer. And if you do have a scuffle with one, it's unlikely to kill you. And the reason is they need you. And they know they do. They're grateful for your presence. Just like Lexi. Smart. Could be aggressive. But when treated right, they're a nice animal. They're a sweetheart. She's a huge suck with me. More so than anybody. And they've said the same thing. She doesn't sit on their laps. But they don't sit on the floor with her. Nobody else does. But I do. I always do. I come and I just sit down and then I call her over. And she sees right away I'm not trying to be above her. And they hate that because you're standing up all the time. And you're bigger than them. One of the reasons they like kids is because they're not that big. But they have to be trained for that too. They'll be aggressive with kids at first if they don't know what they are. But the second they realize that this is a baby, that this is yours, they get totally different, man, because they get that. Well, it's not that when they see someone else's kids. See, in nature, when a dog sees someone else's kids, it's different. They may, oh, no, your genes are weird. We need to kill you. My genes are better. They're like that. So you need to be cautious with them. This is a 20-minute video for a reason. There are a lot of things we need to get to, but I've pretty much covered them all here. Now, the trick is she needs to be on a leash. She needs to be taught socialized skills, which means when something is okay, you need to let her check it out. And no matter how she behaves at first, let her relax. Let her see that and hold her until she relaxes and then let her check it out. And then we show her that this is a baby. This is a person. This is a black person. This is a Chinese person. This is this. This is that. She needs to learn these things, believe it or not, just like a child. We need to teach her. But as soon as you do, they get to be so sweet and so smart. You'd be shocked that they're that good at dog. I mean, she's at the point now where when she goes to do something and she's off the leash and I'm freaking out, she stops. And she looks at me and like, okay, what do I do now? And I'm like, okay, go upstairs. And she goes upstairs. And it's like, those other dogs won't do that. Those little Shih Tzus won't do that. She won't do that. A wolf will do that. They have self-control. When the leader says go, we go. Until then, we don't. Please don't ban a healthy, decent dog breed because you don't know how to handle it. Leave them in the hands of the people who can manage them. There are lots of successful Pitbull owners who manage their dog, who train their dog properly. But you have to train the dog. From the moment you get it, you have to show love. And you have to show firmness. You have to be willing to be hard when it's time to be hard. So that they see who's boss. Because they're your dog. And you are the boss. Aren't you? That's the trick. This dog won't let you just be the boss. But there are times when you have to be, and then she'll let you be. It's really weird. But if you try and dominate her, she won't tolerate that shit. She'll bite you. You can't just be aggressive and stupid about it. You have to approach with love and only show any aggressive behavior when she does. That's the key to getting them loving. Because then they know from loving behavior comes loving. From shit behavior comes shit. Keep that.